Bizarre stories from the subscribers.
Hey bro, what's up? My name is Birimbaldo. I saw something that still bothers me to this day. It's about when I was in school. There was a kid in my class who was really fat. Nothing unusual about that. He was known as Big Fat Chewer. What happened was that he would eat anything. And I'm not kidding. If he was eating something and it fell, if it fell on the floor, he would pick up the food himself and chew that thing with all the dirt on it. If he got hungry and there was nothing to eat, he would look for something to chew on. Even if it wasn't food, it could be a piece of pencil, the tip, a splinter of wood from the chair, anything, man. I myself, some time ago, saw him picking up an old piece of chewing gum from under his desk. He kept poking at it with his pen, man, scraping that disgusting thing and collecting that pile of dried up gunk. Are you crazy? Until one day he was pissed off, punching the wall and threatening people to give him something. It's not possible that no one in this classroom has something for me to eat. Out of all 47 students, no one has a pack of cookies? He even suspected a student who usually carried supplies in his backpack, but that day he denied it. So the big rodent guy went after him and ended up biting the kid. There was blood and everything, man. The teacher tried to stop him, but he threw a desk at her until the big rodent guy was expelled from the classroom. He was out of control, man. Crazy. That same day during recess, we heard a commotion and everyone went to see what it was. What the problem was this time. Some students found him lying on the ground and said he ate something bad and died. As the days went by, the speculation about what he had eaten only increased. The main theory among the group was that he picked up a little bag of rat poison, thinking it was a candy made from rat droppings, and ingested the substance. Others say it was just natural selection doing its job, because who eats anything they find in front of them, ending up having dinner in hell? Hello Leo, my name is Kleber, and this story I'm going to tell you is about my father. When he was about 20 years old, he worked at a hamburger snack bar. The location of the establishment was a bit questionable since it was right next to a cemetery. One night, around 10:30, my father decided to work some extra hours because there were some dishes to wash. After a while, he heard a bell ring from one of the tables. Curious, he went to check who had arrived. When he got there, he saw a tall man wearing a black hood. The man was pale like a corpse and said, "Hello, young man. Could you get me a snack with fries, a hamburger, and a drink?" "Sorry, sir, but the snack bar is closed and it's not possible to take your order because the fryer and the grill are turned off," the man insisted, and my father ended up agreeing since the man promised to pay double if my father made the snack for him. After some time, he prepared the snack and handed it to the guy, right? When he got the money, he saw it was $500, man. Whoa! The money was kind of crumpled and old. When he questioned the man, he realized he wasn't there anymore. After that incident, my father went home, and a month later he quit his job because he no longer felt safe in that place. He thought that man was a supernatural entity that came there to feed, maybe a habitual reflection of his past life. All I know is that my father was really shaken by this and got out of there. Thank you for reading my story. Guys, I just released another comic in the store, Cartoon Cat vs. Siren. It's a story set in a land destroyed by these bizarre creatures and shows the fight between these two titans. Who will be the winner of this battle? That's the big question we all want to know. And if you don't know, there's a story about Leo and Grandma in an adventure against the forces of evil. Kids from the neighborhood are mysteriously disappearing. What could be happening? Will Leo and Grandma be able to solve this mystery? We have other comics too. Just add the store's WhatsApp and we'll assist you. My name is Jennifer, and I'm going to tell you the strangest story that ever happened to me. It was the year 1998, and I was sleeping peacefully in my bed when suddenly my mom woke me up. She said I was late for school and needed to hurry or I would miss the bus. But she insisted that I was mistaken, that it was Friday. I didn't really understand, you know. I decided to follow her orders and got ready in a hurry. I quickly washed my face, brushed my teeth and rushed, you know. At the bus stop, there were no students waiting. Did the bus already pass? Look, there's the bus I thought I had missed. Surprisingly, there are no students inside at this time when it's usually full of them. When I get there, I find the gate open, but strangely, it's empty. The doorman wasn't there, the office was closed, and the classrooms were deserted. A strange feeling started to come over me, but I decided to ignore it and leave the school. That's when the unexpected happened. I heard a child's laughter. It seemed like someone had run from one side to the other, but I didn't see anyone. Could it be a ghost? The gate that was open when I arrived, just as I was about to leave, suddenly slammed shut on me. Luckily, I managed to throw myself forward and avoid having a limb crushed. Breathing a sigh of relief, I realized that something strange was happening. I confirmed it was Saturday when I passed by a newspaper vendor. But when I got back home, my mom greeted me with a worried expression. She asked me where I had been wearing my school uniform since today was Saturday. Confused and scared, I tried to explain that she was the one who woke me up and told me to go to school. But she said she had just woken up and when she looked for me, I was already gone. Since that day, I've been wondering what really happened. Could it be that my mom was sleepwalking and said that without realizing it? Or was it someone pretending to be her, trying to get me out of the house with dark intentions for me? The questions still keep popping up in my head, you know, with no answer. But fortunately, nothing like that ever happened again. Thank God. My name is Lohana. I'm only 12 years old, but something extraordinary happened to me the other day. Every afternoon after school, I take the same path that goes through a cemetery. That afternoon, the clouds were pouring a light rain, but it turned the ground into small puddles. As I was walking, I saw a mother and her child a little ahead. A movement caught my attention when the child suddenly let go of her mother and jumped into one of the puddles. With a push, he stomped hard on the ground, but mysteriously he fell and disappeared. I was shocked. At first I thought he had fallen into a manhole or a hole in the ground, you know, that the ground had given way there. But as I got closer, I realized that the puddle seemed to have no bottom, as if it were a portal to some unknown destination. The child's mother was reaching her hand inside, trying to reach her son, but she couldn't find him. I went home terrified that day. The next day, as I was heading to school, I decided to pass by the same place to see if there was any update about what had happened. If it was a crater that opened up there should be some kind of barrier, right? So no one would fall in again. I wonder if that mother managed to rescue her child. When I got there, it was blocked off just as I imagined, and then something even stranger happened. An old lady was passing by the place, and as she crossed another puddle, she saw a hand grabbing her ankle and pulling her in, making her crown fall to the ground. Quickly, some passers-by helped the lady to get up. She was injured. Her ankle had marks, as if something had grabbed it tightly. I couldn't understand what was happening, but I began to suspect that it was a supernatural manifestation from that cemetery. Maybe a trap to capture people and take their souls to the world of the dead. It was scary to think that, but it seemed to be the only plausible explanation for what I witnessed. I told my friends at school, and they said it was probably a problem with the ground, that it was sinking and making people fall. 3 days later, I passed by there again, and there didn't seem to be any anomaly. Everything was intact. There was no hole. It looked like none of that had happened. Hi Leo, call me Terry. I've been a subscriber to your channel for a long time, and I wanted to share a really bizarre story that's happened to me recently. I'm currently in my second year of high school, and I always go to school by bus and come back by bus too. So I wait for it at a specific stop near the school. Sometimes when there's a free period, my dad can't come pick me up because he's working, you know? So I end up waiting for the bus for a long time, man, and it sucks. But one day, something strange happened. The last 2 classes were cancelled, so I went to the bus stop where I usually wait. There was an old man there with white hair. He looked tired or something like that, maybe because of his age. His eyes were a bit red. Then, Leo, out of nowhere, he looked at me and said, "Let's go over there." I was confused at first, you know, but then he started insisting more and more. I asked, "Go where?" And he just ignored me. He kept calling me to go somewhere. I got kind of scared, you know, and walked away from him. I went over to some classmates who were near the school gate since the bus was going to take a while to arrive. After a while, I went back to wait for the bus because there were only about 5 minutes left for it to arrive. And when I looked, the old man was still there. I felt uncomfortable again, but at least I wasn't alone, right? There were other students waiting for the bus. Actually, the bus stop was crowded, man, so I stayed there. But then he looked at me again and said, "Let's go over there," in a slightly more aggressive tone. So I said to him, "I'm not going, man. I'm here waiting for my bus. What do you want with me?" Then he insisted once again, and I gave the same answer. Then he walked away from me and went to bother another student who was in the other corner. That old man seemed to have some kind of disorder, I don't know. The next day when I got to school, to my surprise, as I got off the bus, I saw the old man there at the bus stop. He was talking to a student. I immediately thought he was calling someone to go somewhere suspicious. I had my classes as usual that day, and when I left school and went to the bus stop, I saw some police cars talking to that old guy. The police were kind of asking him what he was doing there, talking to the students. Everyone was watching, and they ended up taking the old man away. I hope I never see that man around here again. He was definitely very suspicious, right? Saying some weird stuff to the students. There was a boy who didn't have money to buy an Easter egg. Actually, his family did have some money, but if they bought it, they wouldn't have enough to buy rice and beans, right? The most important thing for the family, his dream was to get one of those really big Easter eggs. But that wouldn't be possible, right? Until one day, leaving his school, he found a man on the street selling rabbits. And he said the following to him, "Hello boy, wishing to have Easter eggs forever?" "What do you mean?" "By buying this bunny, you'll have Easter eggs every week. This bunny is magical. It can give you that. But remember, the only fundamental rule is to give it plenty of chocolate powder and liquid milk to drink. That way, the animal will have the basic materials to create your long-awaited Easter egg." "But I don't have any money, sir. Actually, I only have enough for the bus fare to go home." "That's enough. Hand it over." So the boy gave him the money, right, and took the bunny. When he got home, he went into his room, hiding the animal from his parents since they didn't want any pets in the house. Things were tough financially, and buying food for that animal, must be expensive. Mysteriously, he set everything up for the bunny: chocolate powder, milk, everything just like the guy said. After a week, it laid a chocolate egg. That was magical. He had a chocolate factory in his room. He stuffed himself with Easter eggs. His parents saw him eating and asked, "Where did you get that, son?" "That egg must be really expensive." He said they gave it to all the students at school, but it was clearly a lie until he ran out of resources at home. The chocolate milk that was supposed to last the whole month ran out quickly. He ended up leaving only water and grass for the pet to eat, so it wouldn't starve, right? That's when something bizarre happened. The rabbit didn't eat that, and it started to get aggressive. He tried to make it eat, but nothing worked. Then, the next morning, Gustavo didn't go to school. His mother, worried, went to see what had happened to her son. He always woke up early, got ready, had breakfast. What happened today? Entering the boy's room, she saw the rabbit. She smelled something strange in there and turned on the light. And when she looked, she saw a meat egg. You can already imagine what happened, right? The boy turned into a meat egg. Be careful with false promises, lies told by people you don't know. You might be the next one to become a meat egg, just like him.
Bizarre stories from the subscribers.
Hello Leo, I came to tell you something that happened. Well, my friends and I are the nerds of the class. We get good grades, play tabletop RPGs and stuff like that. I'm one of the most introverted people in my class. I only talk to the people in my group, you know? Something strange was happening to me. Sometimes I would wake up with some bruises on my legs, arms and so on. I never knew what it was, and honestly I didn't really care about it, you know, man. In my mind, I thought I was kind of a sleepwalker and would bump into the wooden bed. One day at school, it was just me and one other friend, Jamison. He was always the best artist in the class and always drew the places he was in. He included a lot of details, and even things that weren't there, he would put on paper. During recess, he and I were having a nice conversation, sitting at one of those concrete tables, you know? Until I suddenly felt like going to the bathroom to take a leak. So I went, right? And when I was coming back, I saw an extra shadow. Almost like someone was following me. But when I looked back, there was no one there. I ran back to where my friend was, but I didn't say anything, right? And I kept talking to him. He was still drawing and asked me, "Who is this person?" "The person behind you. I'm not seeing anyone. I just saw a shadow behind me." "Then you don't know. It must be some spirit that's attached to you, a wandering soul that won't leave you alone." "And how do you see that?" "I don't know. I just know that I see everything around me." "Have any of these things ever gotten close to you?" "Yeah, but I'm a servant of Jesus Christ. I'm protected." Then he finished the drawing and showed it to me, Leo, revealing everything. Man, there was a weird creature he drew behind me. I was traumatized, man. A creature like that stuck to me. But in the spiritual world, right, man? That's crazy, dude. Even today, I wake up with some bruises, but not as many as before. And every now and then, I feel something behind me. It's probably that weird creature. It must be that soul. I think I'll start going to church, talk to a priest to help me. And I wanted to know, Leo, if any of your subscribers have ever gone through this too. Thank you for reading my story. Hello, Leo. My name is Evelyn. I'm going to tell you a story that my father told me from when he was a child. It was a hot night when my father was about 10 years old, more or less. He was with his mother, and she decided to go to the house next door, which was up for rent in the neighborhood. She had the access key since she handled those things. And since it was very hot, that would be the solution because the house was more airy with bigger windows. When he was leaving, he took with him a little red toy owl, which would play a little song when you pulled the string. When they were inside the house, they lay down on a mattress to sleep in the room that was also the kitchen, right? Like those American houses? Since he was excited about the new toy, he hadn't slept yet and started playing with the toy. He pulled the owl's string to make it play, but when he looked under the sink, he saw something that made him crap his pants. He had seen a woman in a long white dress looking at him. The woman was holding a child or toy in her lap. He couldn't describe what it was. He was paralyzed with fear. According to my father, he could only move his eyes to look at that figure in front of him. He tried to call his mother, but nothing. He couldn't, speak. His voice kept failing. It didn't work, man. He closed his eyes, and when he opened them again, the woman had disappeared under the sink. In the morning, when he went to the sink to get some water, he found the child who was with the woman. It was a toy that looked very much like a child. Looking closely, it seemed to have human hair. I had never seen anything like it. His mother asked whose toy that was since the house was empty. To this day, he doesn't know what that thing was. Where did that doll come from? Then his mother took that toy and got rid of it. The next night they went to sleep again. And according to my father, that was the night of terror. He said he was in a deep sleep when he suddenly heard his owl playing out of nowhere. His mother scolded him, right? She told him to stop doing that. But he swore up and down that it wasn't him. He was sleeping. Well, that was the story, Leo. I hope you liked it. Hi Leo, I'm Mateus, a 15-year-old boy who lives in a small town in the middle of the Northeast. My story takes place on my last trip to the countryside. There I was with my dad, leaving the rodeo because my ears couldn't take all that noise anymore. The sky was already orange and the sun was going down. We left before everyone else, and when we headed toward the car, we saw something strange. There were blood stains on the ground and some of the cars there were all wrecked. It looked like there had been some kind of commotion there. Could it be that a wild bull escaped and crashed into the cars? Unfortunately, our car had a blown tire. I don't know how that happened, but what can you do, right? My dad told me to run inside the car while he changed the tire. 200 meters ahead, he had to stop at the crossroads to remove some rocks that were in the middle of the dirt road. If he didn't move them, they would hit his car and any others passing by. So there I was, listening to my music with my headphones on. When I saw the bushes move, I took off my headphones and we heard it. There was definitely something there. Then, in the middle of that 2-meter tall grass, the thing slowly revealed itself. It looked like a skinny, malnourished dog with drool coming from its mouth. The creature was probably a chupacabra. It looked at us, stood still for a few seconds, just staring, really staring, man, with a real devilish face. Then we heard a noise in the bushes, and the creature ran toward that sound. We got out of there quickly, scared but safe. My dad had never stepped on the gas so hard as he did that day. Today, I think that creature was hunting and attacked the cars in that rodeo parking lot looking for food. And probably when it heard a sound in the bushes, it realized there was some animal there and went to hunt it. Lucky for us, and unlucky for the animal that was near that monster. The next day, my dad met an acquaintance who was at the rodeo, and he said something that really scared me, man. The man's dog had stayed in the car that afternoon. He left it inside with a crack in the window, right? And when he came back later, the dog was no longer in the car. His vehicle was destroyed and his little dog wasn't inside anymore. He saw blood stains on the ground. So that blood was probably from the guy's dog, right, man? That was the only time I saw something totally bizarre, not from this world, Leo. Thank God. Right, just imagine. I hope you guys enjoyed this bizarre subscriber story, and if you want to send in a story to appear in this segment, just send it to this email right here, inscritosleo@gmail.com, alright? I'm gonna wrap it up here, okay? Bye.